Hello everyone, this is Defense Politics Asia, and this is the summary for the day of 772 to 773 for the 5th to the 6th of April. We start off with the frontline changes report. The first one is over at Terny. So in the Kreminna Front, Kreminna City, and there is a frontline change over at Terny region. This is actually a geolocation of Ukrainian forces trying to recover an abandoned Russian tank. They are geolocated here, where previously there was a Russian attack coming in this direction. So with this geolocation, it means that there is Ukrainian presence over here. So we're going to extend this overlapping mapping around here. It won't be classified as a Ukrainian capture because I don't think they will stay around. So that's all for this Kreminna Front at Terny. The next frontline change is over at the Bakhmut Front. Over at the Novy, or the Canal micro-district of Zaporizhzhia, there is Ukrainian forces geolocated on the northeastern part of Novy. And this geolocation shows that the Russians probably did not have this location, but it doesn't really invalidate if the Russians are actually in the forest. So there is going to be some slight invalidation of the Russian claims, but it's not a full invalidation of the Russian claims. So that's all over at the Zaporizhzhia region. And then the next frontline change is over at the Avdiivka Front at Berdychi. So at Berdychi, Ukrainian mapping have shown that the Russian forces have taken most of basically the entire of northern Berdychi as well as central Berdychi, which means that the Russian forces have now confirmed to have taken most of Berdychi, leaving only the western part of Berdychi still under question. Likely that this western part is, and also here, this western part is likely to be a gray zone largely, except for I think this area here. I think is still probably there is Ukrainian forces stationed over there because it's a bit far from the front line. So we will continue to monitor. There is geolocation as well over in the northern part. Geolocated Russian forces getting hit by a Ukrainian FPV drone, which has the reason why the Ukrainian mapping considered this entire area to the Russian side in their mapping. So after Berdychi, we go down a bit over to Semenivka. So Semenivka, there is geolocation of Russian forces advancing within Semenivka itself. So the Russian forces is now geolocated around here, which extends their front line over in the southern part of Semenivka as they continue to push northward to capture the entire of Semenivka. And as you can see, the Russians are pushing in Berdychi, and then they are pushing in Semenivka. So this is definitely going to squeeze the Ukrainians quite a bit around this northern, or rather the slightly northern part of the Avdiivka Front. So after Semenivka, we have at Tonenke. So at Tonenke, there is a geolocation which also is verified by the Ukrainian mapping, showing that the Russian forces confirmed to have taken these tree lines, or this junction of the tree line. This is actually basically a disclaim by the Ukrainian mapping, but of course this is now confirmed purely because of geolocation, so they have no choice but to acknowledge this frontline change. And the next frontline change is away from the Avdiivka Front over at the Donetsk Front at Krasnohorivka. So this is Krasnohorivka, and if you zoom out a bit, you're going to see Donetsk City, Marinka. So this is where Krasnohorivka is. And in this area, there is this massive geolocation, this important geolocation of Ukrainian forces getting shelled by Russian artillery at the very corner of the city, and which means that the Ukrainians have actually fully retaken the entire of Krasnohorivka, which means that the battle of Krasnohorivka has tentatively ended with a Ukrainian victory. So the Ukrainian forces have successfully pushed out the Russian forces that previously have entrenched themselves in this southern part of Krasnohorivka, but the Ukrainian counterattack has been successful eventually. So now Ukrainian forces have taken the rest of this foothold, which means that the Russians will have to try again another day. So this is one of these rare success in recent days where the Russians are advancing everywhere. But this is not the only one. So anyway, over at Novomykhailivka, further south from Semenivka. So just now we were here at Krasnohorivka. So now we're going to Novomykhailivka. At this area here, however, the Russians are advancing with two geolocations, one in the northern part in the Dacha region or the Holiday House region, and then another one through the center of Novomykhailivka. Both geolocation shows the Russian forces are advancing within this area in the northern and the central part. So the Ukrainian forces are now struggling to hold positions around here, and I think that the Russians will continue to push to capture Novomykhailivka. So, and the next front line change is over at Staromaiorske. Also at the Donetsk Front, but at the other end, Ukrainian forces, based on the Ukrainian claim from Ukrainian mapping, they mapped that the Ukrainian forces have taken back these 2-3 lines. So not 2-3 lines, but as in 2-3 lines. So the Ukrainian forces have taken have attacked, counter-attack, and pushed out the Russian forces, allegedly according to the Ukrainian mapping. Which means that the front line has changed to this. However, this is a Ukrainian claim, so it will be remain as a overlapping mapping on the DPA's mapping. And the last front line change is over at Verbove. So this is at the Zaporizhzhia Front. This is Zaporizhzhia city. This is the Zaporizhzhia Front at the northwestern part of Verbove. Russian forces have taken some ground in this area here. This is based on the Ukrainian mapping. They have shown that the Russians have advanced over this area here. But generally, this has already been mapped as so by the Russian mapping, so it's not going to change anything much, but just reduction of the Ukrainian mapping, the front line on the Ukrainian side. So that's all for all the frontline changes report. We go into the strategic and tactical reporting. First thing first, the Russian forces have launched a massive missile strike. This is reported on the 6th of April, according to the Russian Defense Ministry. This time round, they are hitting industrial complex, military industrial complex, and temporary deployment areas for foreign mercenaries. So I'm not sure if this is referring to any NATO troops, because there is some rumors that French troops has already been deployed. Maybe not. So we're not sure. So anyway, this is a foreign mercenary. They didn't write it as NATO troops, so we will just assume that it's purely mercenary. The Ukrainians did not also lay down and did nothing. On the 5th of April, probably on the very same day as the Russian strike, there is a massive Ukrainian drone strike on a Russian airfield. Based on the Russian claims, they have shot down basically almost all the drones. And however, there is still rumors of some injury caused by this attack. There is claims that multiple Russian jets has been destroyed. However, even ISW, the super pro-Ukrainian think tank, the Institute of Study of War, also claims that there is no evidence that any Russian jet has been destroyed based on satellite imagery evidence. So the entire claim has been shot down. I basically missed the entire excitement about that. I saw it on Twitter and I don't know what to think. And then within half a day or a day later, basically satellite imagery have came out to debunk the rumor of the destroyed jet. So it is what it is. Going into the Kherson Front, at the Kherson Front, there is still fighting at the left bank or the southern bank of the Dnipro River. According to Ryba, they said that the Russian forces attacked Ukrainian boats while they are trying to do some rotation at Krinky. And Ukrainian side also reported about Russians trying to attack their beachheads. So yeah, probably this. There is also Russian reports of shelling at Ivanivka, and there is geolocation of Russian airstrike at Avdiivka. So that's about it, I believe, for the Kherson Front. We move into the Zaporizhzhia Front. At the Zaporizhzhia Front, as mentioned just now over in the frontline changes report, the Russian forces are attacking in the northwestern part of Verbove. Let me slow down my mouse. Okay, that might be a bit too slow. But the Russians are also attacking at Robotine. So this is the usual, probably some more like a fire attack than assault from the Russian side at Robotine. We will continue to monitor. This front line has been rather static. The only real front line change is coming from the northwest of Verbove. So that's all. Coming from the Orikhiv sector of the Zaporizhzhia Front. There's nothing else over at the rest of the Zaporizhzhia Front line. Over at the Velika Novosibirsk sector of the Donetsk Front, the Russian forces are reportedly attacking Staromaiorske and Uruzhaine. Ukrainian forces counterattack as per the frontline changes report on the western part of Staromaiorske. So this is basically the strategic picture of the situation over the past 24 hours. Geolocation of Russian airstrike on the southern part of Uruzhaine along the tree line simply shows the Russians have free reign in terms of air power. So it's basically on this tree line. So this is currently the case. The Russians, these arrows are not attacks. It's very positional. They are basically just simply firing at Ukrainian positions from afar, whereas the Ukrainian counterattack over on the western part of Staromaiorske is the one that actually make frontline change. So moving on over to the Voleda sector, there is multiple geolocation of Russian artillery strike or drone strikes or missile strikes on Ukrainian positions. So a mortar attack over the southwestern part of Voleda. I think this is an airstrike on the mine near Voleda, and then also another airstrike on Ukrainian stronghold on the eastern part of Voleda. So basically, it's just the Russians conducting a fire attack on Ukrainian positions and are trying to weaken the Ukrainian defense line around this very, very powerful and fortified Ukrainian defense line. This line is very, very difficult for the Russians to break. They have tried before. They tried tank rush, but it also didn't work. So that's all from this Voleda sector. Over at this Marinka sector, Russian forces are attacking over at Krasnohorivka, Georgievka, in the Boyeda region towards Antonivka and towards Konstantinivka, as well as through Novomykhailivka. As per mentioned, so this is a strategic picture overall at this area here. Over at Novomykhailivka, as I mentioned before, Russian forces are attacking in the north and through the center. Previously, they have already succeeded taking most of the south and moving southwest in the western direction towards the highway south of Konstantinivka. So this will probably continue. Ukrainian forces is likely to struggle to hold positions around this area here. But they will continue to try because the Ukrainians at these front lines are usually pretty good at grinding out and are trying to make it very expensive for the Russians to actually achieve anything. There's interesting reports coming from the Russian Defense Ministry and Ukrainian Defense Ministry. Both talk about a Russian advance in this direction. So the Russians say that it's more towards Konstantinivka. The Ukrainians say it's more towards Antonivka. So either one. No, basically it's just this general direction that the Russians are pushing from Voiveda. So we will continue to monitor and see how this goes. Further up north, Russian forces continue at Georgievka. There is no news about this. The Russian forces allegedly is attacking Krasnohorivka. However, the one that makes frontline change is the Ukrainians. So we shall see how this progress. But the battle of Krasnohorivka is now over for now. And we shall see when the Russians is going to try again for round 2. So that's all from the Donetsk Front. At the Avdiivka Front, the Russian forces continue their Avdiivka offensive, continue to put massive, heavy pressure on the Ukrainians, with fighting reported towards Novy, at Berdychi, at Semenivka, towards Umanske in the region on the western part of Tonenke, towards Yasnoborodivka, and towards Netelove, as well as Povomaisky and Nevelske. Basically, you can see it's almost the entire front line that the Russians are pushing. Ukrainian forces, are they counterattacking in any places? No, the entire initiative at this area here is entirely Russian. The Russians have the full initiative of the Avdiivka Front, and in this area, we are also seeing that indeed that they are having the full initiative with frontline changes reported. In Semenivka, and Berdychi. So these are all very firm changes, corroborated by geolocations. And Ukrainian forces are geolocated at Umanske with an airstrike, hitting this breach. This breach over here. This is unlikely to stop the Ukrainians, but it definitely make it extremely inconvenient for the Ukrainians to move south of the river from Umanske region to support the defense of Krasnohorivka, as well as defending the southern part and the southwestern part or southeastern part of Umanske. So this is now made more difficult. Otherwise, there's its entire river system moving through the south of Umanske towards Yasnobrodivka. So this bridge is pretty strategically important. The Russians decided that they just want to airstrike it, which means that there's a possibility that the Russians are not intending to go north of Umanske. They may want to just build the defense line like this along the river and probably ending at Netelove, with the Russians probably making this as a final objective. So along this river, the Russians can build a strong defense line, and then this will be the next static front line. And this is probably a good enough buffer zone to protect the Avdiivka city. And then the continuation of the offensive will probably go from the north through Semenivka towards the rear position, towards the next line of defense for the on the Ukrainian side. So yeah, this looks like the case. Russian strategy like to fight to water bodies, because they prefer to defend along rivers and lakes and something like this. So that is looking like the case with the destruction of the breach. Moving away from this front line, over at the New York Front, there is only one report of Russian attack in the New York region, according to the Russian Defense Ministry on the 6th of April's report. And that's all for this front line. We move into the southern flank of the Bakhmut Front. Russian forces doing their usual, with fighting reported at Klishchiivka and Avdiivka, as well as in the area of Zelenopilia. Zelenopilia is a very unusual place to be named. Ukrainian Defense Ministry mentioned it in their 5th of April report. Usually they mention Kupyansk, but this time around they mentioned Zelenopilia, which is kind of weird, which means that there is a more bigger focus on the southern part of Avdiivka, which is why Zelenopilia is actually mentioned, probably in the two prone attack, from two different directions towards the same point, probably on the western part of Avdiivka. Moving into the northern flank of the Bakhmut Front, this is Bakhmut city, by the way. Russian forces are attacking Berdychi, attacking Novy in the area of Ivaniske, and towards Stuposhki in the forest region west of Ivaniske. These reports are coming from the Russian sources. And there is multiple geolocations all around Novy region, as this is now the next a focus of all the war fans watching the Ukraine war. Russian forces geolocated along the road, confirming the Russians' presence in this area here, which is not doubted. However, the Ukrainian presence around here geolocated shows that the Russian claims is a little bit exaggerated for now, but Ukrainians are getting bombarded and airstrike all over Novy. So this seems to be the new meta for the Russians' offensive, which means that they will always airstrike and shell you and thermobaric rocket you to the point of submission and withdrawal, and or until your troops do not dare to reinforce to that position. This seems to be that kind of strategy right now, with the Russian having full air superiority. So we will continue to monitor and see how this progress. And I saw some of the comments on the DPA's shots on the Ukraine war, and I saw maybe new viewers that they have never known what is DPA, and then they are saying that I'm talking nonsense or whatnot. Yeah, nice quote. Nice cope. Yeah, don't watch too much propaganda. Ukrainians are not winning. Like there is no, you can't even sugarcoat it. No, NATO is talking about trying to intervene to stop the Russians from winning. There is articles writing about, if the NATO troops don't enter, then Ukraine will have no choice but to suffer a catastrophic defeat. It's like, how is that not Russian winning? Don't cope so much. I know even if you read ISW, like even ISW cannot say Ukraine is winning right now. Like, there's no way to sugarcoat this. So anyway, at the Siversk Front, Russian forces are also winning in this area here. If you are, anyway, the Russian forces attacking at Bilohorivka towards Okanyanske, in the area of Terny, in the south of Ivano-Darivka, in the northwest of northeast of Vasily, towards Vimka, and the Ukrainian forces counterattack at Rozdolivka. So looks like that is rather pointless when everything is collapsing all around at this front line. Ukrainian forces are kind of like, oh, this is the more important place. So yeah, but it's okay. It's okay. At least they are trying. So that's all for this Siversk Front. Very interesting situation coming out. We really need to see it. I think, as I mentioned before, Vimka is the one that is probably more critical. If the Russians are not pushing in this Rozdolivka region, then Vimka will be vital. If the Russians take Vimka, then Ukrainian forces will be stranded all along this front line, and they will have to withdraw. And this is also why the Russians are pushing it at even Verkhan-Okanyamske, because this will add on the pressure, because what is look like is actually a wider pincer. And these troops over here is going to be stranded if these two attacks will be successful. But of course, there is no indication that the Verkhan-Okanyamske is a serious attack. This is only reported by the Ukrainian Defense Ministry. The Russian side did not really talk about it much. So we will continue to monitor. This attack is reported on the 6th of April, which is the past 24 hours. So this is pretty new. Moving into the Kreminna Front, Russia continued to attack Terny. Ukrainian geolocated, trying to extract a Russian abandoned tank, and that's about it. We move on. At Svatove Front, the surprise attack ended. So the previous reports about the Russian attack at Ryhorovka, Zerone, as well as Avdiivka is not repeated. So this is just a probing or a diversionary. So that's all for the Svatove Front. Over at this Kupyansk Front, there is report of fighting reported at Berdychi and Semenivka. Both are Russian attacks. There is no Ukrainian attacks being reported in this area here. So that's it for the Kupyansk Front. And over at the border regions, Russian forces continue to bombard Ukrainian positions. Many of them is through Lancet. So over in the area of Voschansk, there is a Lancet attacking a Ukrainian vehicle, and then we have another Lancet hitting a Ukrainian artillery just east of Lipsy. So, and then there's one more. Yeah, okay, there's one more which I want to talk a bit more. So these two are Lancet attacks, and then we have this one within Kharkiv, in the northern part of Kharkiv region. This actually went viral on the Russian side of the social media that covering the Ukraine war. It is the destruction of two Uragan MLRS, multiple launch rocket system of the Ukrainian armed forces. They were supposedly inside some kind of a residential area, and they were hit by a missile strike. The explosion is massive. As you can see, super huge explosion, because I think there is this multiple launch rocket system is full of ammo, and so the destruction basically killed everyone there, 100%. I don't think anyone will survive that explosion. So this, according to the Russians' narrative on the pro-Russian side, they say that these two MLRS is the culprit for the non-stop shelling of Belgorod. So the Russians are celebrating this. But however, if you zoom in, this is not exactly some kind of residential area. This is a huge mall. This is the mall's car park, and then the residential area is a bit far. So to say this is residential area is a little bit stretching it, but this is indeed still a huge victory on the Russian side in terms of their PR, the kind of mental, psychological jerking. Then they say that these two are the ones that have been shelling Belgorod, so which might be true. So anyway, this is the summary for the day of 772 to 773 for the 5th to the 6th of April. Do press the like button or missile strike it. Just like the Urugans, there was a missile strike. And join the DPA army, subscribe to this channel. And also, if you want to support DPA's work, if you think that my work is useful or important, do consider sharing some of your income with me on Patreon. I will highly appreciate it because the patrons are the one that provide me a cushion in the face of extremely unpredictable YouTube recommendations of DPA's videos. The views just go all over the place, and usually it's on the low side. So it's important that if you guys can support DPA financially, provide me with that cushion, that will be very, very helpful. But the amount is dropping over the past half a year. It's been slowly dropping, so that's why I need to do some advertising for the Patreon, so that yeah. Anyway, consider that I'm going to post some video, some photos of History Legend. I'm going to use History Legend to get money. History Legend in Singapore with me, and I'm going to post some of these photos on the Patreon and in the next post. And thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next update. Yeah, I'm actually monetizing History Legend right now.